The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is back at the track for 2021. After pulling through a rough year that was last year, we're ready to start this new season with a bang. And today at Fort Recovery, we have action from a number of Champions Tour classes. With a shortened season last year, our teams have had longer than normal off seasons, which means more time to work on their machines, to make improvements, and to prepare. It's a new season and a new chase for that coveted class championship. Don't go anywhere. Day one of the Battle at the Fort starts now.
We are excited to get going here with the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League. Welcome to the Rhino Ag Battle at the Fort, presented by Super Clean. We're here at Fort Recovery, Ohio. Ken Stout and Leslie Mears here to call the action for you. 2020 is in the past. It's time to go truck and tractor pulling here in 2021, and we are ready to rock.
It's so exciting to see the pits loaded with vehicles to come out here for the inaugural pull of the season.
Couldn't agree more, and the fans have packed the place as well to watch the best go at it. Located adjacent to Fort Recovery Park here, this is a two-day event with 4 Champions Tour classes. We'll also have some Silver Series classes as well.
And we're going to kick things off here with our light pro stock tractors, new to the Silver Series for 2021. And Matthew Meadows in Relentless will be our first to hook to the sled, and I spoke with him earlier today. So it's an early hook here for Matthew Meadows. So what have you seen so far on the track?
So the track has a lot of moisture in it. It's usually a really good track here at the Fort. They do an excellent job preparing it. So looks to me like it's going to hook really good.
So what adjustments are you going to have to make to your setup here to kind of keep it under control?
So we'll have to, naturally keep all the weight on the front. We'll probably adjust the drawbar a little bit to try to get a good smooth run.
And that's not something that people in your class usually adjust. So how did you figure that that's the perfect point for you?
Well, we've had trouble bouncing a few times, and the light super tractors kind of took something from them, some help from some other guys, try to lower it a little bit, keep it down there, and get a good smooth run.
He had a respectable outing first day at Benson, but the second day at Benson, unfortunately, he struggled a bit. Comes out, puts 284 and 37 on the board to kick off the category. Of course, as always, he is considered the test puller. He does have that option to drop that hook and come back if he thinks he can do better.
It's an impressive group of light pro stock tractors in competition here. And of course, we're going to see our current leader after Benson, North Carolina. That's going to be the high gear harvester, Kendall Beasley, out there. And very exciting to see a couple of those tractors from Pennsylvania, the Whiskey Business and the Demented, coming out here to play.
Okay, let's talk about this category a little bit. Just a bit different from the limited pro stock tractors. This is the light pro stockers.
Yeah, 8,500 pounds, 540 cubic inches, and those 24.5 tires that we normally see out there. The big difference for these guys is that they only have a limit on their turbo exhaust of 4.5 inches.
So they come in with a little smaller engine, 1,000 pounds lighter, the pump and tire about the same size, and as you mentioned there, the exhaust. These things are still really exciting to watch and perform, and as you can see right there, we have a new leader. Robert Labe with the blacktop binder puts 305 and 33 on the board.
You know, I think the difference for him was the ground speed on that pass, and with the moisture in the track now, they're going to have to get it up and moving fast.
And Sean Thornhill comes out here behind the wheel of that International and puts a foot and a half on him at 306 and 82.
Yeah, a really stellar run there, and it was very quick from start to finish. And I love the story behind this tractor that when his wife passed away, she left a long list of things that she wanted everyone to do, and she always knew that Sean wanted to have a Light Pro tractor, and she told him that he better build a tractor and she better name it the way that she wanted it to, and he's kind of carrying on her legacy here.
Good stuff, and looks like it's performing nicely as well. So congratulations to him here as an early leader. Coming up here next will be Rich Johnson behind the wheel of the Shag Nasty, and Leslie had a chance to speak with him a little bit earlier today.
So it's pretty much a brand new piece here for Rich Johnson and the Shag Nasty. And so you've moved up here. So you were in the 8500 Limited Pro class. And so talk about some of the differences between that and now our Light Pro.
The difference is in the 466 class, we were limited to 466 cubic inch motors, a 3x4 turbo, and a 13 millimeter pump. This one, we are at a 540 cubic inch motor, 16 millimeter pump, and I think we're regulated by a 4.5 exhaust housing, but any intake wheel you can turn.
So you've got a lot more power and a lot more movement here on the tractor. So what's the adjustment been like?
It's over double the horsepower we've been running. It's different. It's so responsive, super quick. Things happen way faster. It's a fun ride.
And you can see that smile tucked in behind his face. He's having a good time behind the wheel of this thing.
I mean, anytime you can double your horsepower, right?
Yeah, it's big. And you can actually hear a little throttle control on that as well. Very modulated there at the beginning, and then finally went full steam. 303 and 86 will lay up just a little bit short of the 2 leaders, but puts him in 3rd place for now.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how these guys use a variance on the starting line there to set that sled. And we can see we've got 3 guys at the top so far. Sean Thornhill on top, but so many to go here in the category. Let's see if he can hold on.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by General Tire. Anywhere is possible. Optima Batteries, the ultimate power source. And by Lucas Oil. Keep that engine alive.
Welcome back to the Rhino Ag Battle at the Fort, presented by Super Clean. We're here at Fort Recovery, Ohio, kicking off the Silver Series for the Light Pro Stock tractors here for 2021 with a high gear harvester coming out. This is Kendall Beasley, and Kendall, with a great job at the first 2 hooks of the season, including a win, comes in here as the points leader. Oh, and he's going to play with it right there. Oh, so close to taking the lead, but he's just going to miss it at 306 and 76 to the 306 and 82 by Sean Thornhill.
It's interesting to see him move back towards that left sideline, little left to center on that pass, and that's where we saw the Misty's tractor come out there and take the lead. So we're going to see a trend here. Adam Diaz from Montrose, Pennsylvania, going to move that sled over to that left sideline as well, where they're starting to wear in the dirt.
Beautiful looking, very clean Case International. Sounded awesome there at full song, and boy, does he throw a number on the board. 3:12.06, and we have a brand new leader by a bunch.
Yeah, and Diaz, one of those East Coast pullers, one of the strong groups that helped to get this Light Pro tractors on the Silver Series for this season, committing to running the full circuit here and just showing a nice clean, straight pass, a little bit of a shift to the right off the starting line, but other than that, no brakes, just straight out the end. And that's exactly what you want to do. You want to force your power into the ground and propel forward out the end.
Great stuff for sure. Good looking ride there for Adam Diaz, and we'll see if he can hang on to it. Another 5-6 tractors yet inside of the category to come out here and try and steal it away. And the next one to hook will be Kendall Hauk, and Leslie spoke to him earlier today.
So we've talked about how excited we are to welcome the Light Pro class to the Silver Series. So Kendall, what's the most critical part of the run for you guys?
I think the hole shot, getting it out of the hole and getting the sled moving fast, right out of the hole and getting it going, and the rest of the run's, momentum then from there on. So,
what are some mistakes that you can make that give you a bad hole shot?
Get on the throttle too hard. Don't ride the clutch out. You got to walk them out with the clutch usually. So, my wife, she comes out harder than anybody. So.
Well, we heard you're the replacement driver this week for her.
Driver this week for her. She'll be back tomorrow night, and she's the popular driver now. I'm not.
Well, you win some, you lose some.
She is. She's took all the popularity away from me, so she's a big thing now. So.
Boy, very controlled, very methodical with both the clutch and the throttle there. Nice and smooth is Kendall Hauk. Nothing special. The name of the tractor, he goes 302 and 68.
Yeah, and he's been doing this a long time, and it was really funny. After our interview there, he told me, he said, hey, I'm the one with the regional championships, and everybody still wants to see her. I don't understand that.
April has stolen the limelight, for sure. As we continue on here, up next behind the wheel, the Farmall Fever is Ron Beasley. He finished second at the season opener. Is going to miss it here by just a bit at 301 and 41.
Yeah, team tractor there with the high gear harvester. And these guys out of North Carolina are strong, and they were instrumental in helping get these Light Pros on the Silver Series as well, saying, hey, we're going to commit. We're going to run all these Midwestern events all the way from North Carolina and make it happen so we can kind of elevate this class.
So a couple of the tractors that are not chasing points here this season still up top inside of this field as the Bushwhacker comes out here next, and Wes Spencer behind the wheel coming out of Ohio. Oh, and a really good effort here at 305 and 85, just outside of the top three in the fourth position.
I really think the extra moisture in the track is maybe throwing these guys for a loop in this category. We saw just how patient he was off the line to try to get it going, and maybe they kind of overestimated a little bit because the track here at Fort Recovery is usually really, really good, so maybe they're changing their gear to try to compensate for that.
And Bob Campbell with the John Deere will go 301 and 49. So just two tractors yet to go here inside of our Light Pro Stock category in the Silver Series here at Fort Recovery. Stay with us. When we come back, we're going to find out who wins this thing. Just two tractors yet to go here in the Light Pro Stock category at the Rhino Ag Battle at the Fort, presented by Super Clean or Fort Recovery, Ohio. Second hook of the 2021 season, and Kevin Utt coming up here next with the Rolling Thunder. Wow, and he really puts one together here late in this session at 3:08 and 58. Good enough to jump up into second place.
And he's another one of those East Coast pullers, and so not really trailer mates there with Whiskey Business, but the team does run together, and so no, he's getting some information from his and Michelacci. They're all talking back there on the starting line, and you see his point where he started on the track, very similar to what we saw from our leader, except he does veer off to that right-hand side of the track, letting it drift as far as possible before he hits those brakes. And so knowledge is key there, knowing what worked for someone else and kind of using that to your advantage really helps.
And speaking of Michelacci, here he comes now. This is Jeff Michelacci behind the wheel of the Demented. The Russian ready to steal this entire class away. We'll see if he can get it done. And a nice effort here out of this hook. 3:06 and 71. Misses fourth place by a mere half of an inch, but a solid effort here in the top 5 as the last tractor in the category. Let's go back and take a look at the best hooks in the category here today, courtesy of Super Clean.
It's going to be Adam Diaz in the Whiskey Business taking top honors in this category, finding that sweet spot right in the middle of the track.
And right behind him, behind the wheel of that International at 3:08 and 58 is Kevin Utt. Rolling Thunder came out here and put some thunder on the group.
And then Sean Thornhill and Missy's takes third place with that early hook in the category.
Let's get it down to the podium where Leslie has our winner.
Well, Adam, for you tonight, you definitely had something going on with your tractor as you put 4 feet on second place. So what was it that you did so well tonight to blast off the field?
I felt tonight we just brought it out of the hole really well. Drove it out the way we were supposed to, and it hooked up and it took off. It did well.
It seemed like you were definitely a lot more controlled than reactionary, which can happen in this class.
For once. One time.
And you had some help from your teammate, too.
I did, yeah. My trailer mate, Demented, Jeff Michelacci and his crew, the guys around me, Kevin Utt and some of the other competitors in the class, we all rolled together out of PA and help each other out, and it was great to see and do.
Yeah, a big win for you tonight. I know it's still kind of sinking in. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I want to thank a couple of my sponsors and stuff. I have Jim here from Weimer's Fuel, his brother Steve. They're a great team over there, giving us great turbos out there. Tim and Josh Shipley from Shipley Tractor build strong engines for me. My trailer mate who hauls the tractor for me, Jeff Michelacci. His son-in-law Andy, his brother Brian. I have some great people helping us out to get where we are.
And a look at the final pulling order here. Solid showing for the Light Pro Stock tractors here inside of the Silver Series as they start their chase for the points in the 2021 season. Adam Diaz up top, Kevin Utt and Sean Thornhill to round out the top 3, and we'll get it back down to the podium to talk to Kevin.
So it's a late hook that ends up second tonight. So, Kevin, you got to watch a lot of vehicles go down the track. What did you learn about the starting line that helped you out?
It just seemed like everybody kept staying to the right and we moved to the left again, and it seemed like there was more moisture to get a better hole shot.
Yeah, a lot of guys at the top end, though, were talking about how maybe on the left side it wasn't the best at the top end, but you seem to be able to power through that.
Yeah, I kind of, cross-tracked a little bit. I started left and finished right, and that's kind of what we were trying to do, and it worked, I guess.
That'll wrap things up here with our Light Pro Stock category. When we come back, it'll be the big boys. The Super Mods are ready to make some noise. And welcome back to the Rhino Ag Battle at the Fort, presented by Super Clean. As the sun has set here in Fort Recovery, Ohio at Ambassador Park, we're ready to fire up the big dogs. The Super Mod tractors are ready to make some noise here. 2 hooks already in the books for the 2021 season. Come out here and kick things off here with hook number 3.
What's amazing to me is these tractors weigh 7,800 pounds and they make over 10,000 horsepower. They're able to tie all that power into that gearbox and put it into that planetary rear end and tie it down to the track. It's really quite an engineering feat.
And Brett Berg with the moneymaker will kick off the category here. The mark 3:25 and 53. No way he turns that one down. Solid effort for sure. We'll find out if the officials are good with the hook as well.
One thing that's interesting as we ride along on the sled here is how much dirt these guys are kicking up during their run. And so we see it blowing back off of the underneath the fenders back towards the sled, but it's also going to pile up in front of the buckboard. So as that box tops off, that sled comes down, it's going to be extra weight that they're going to drag.
A look at the pulling order here for the Super Modified Tractor category, and Brett Berg and the Moneymaker, a new name to the category here on the Champions Tour. And as you can see, Jeremy Correa, also another one jumping in here in this class. It's as deep as we've ever seen.
Yeah, we're excited, too, to see Brandon Simon out for a full season. He'll be the last hook of the class.
We continue on here. This is the Get Her Done, obviously sponsored by Lucas Oil Products, and Jeremy Correa behind the wheel. Great-looking tractor.
Yeah, this team from California has decided to commit to the Champions Tour this year and run the miles.
And it looked like one, maybe even two of those things starting to eat itself up there right at the very end. That will cost him some distance at 283 and 17. And while these names might be new to the Champions Tour and chasing points, these guys are clearly veterans and have done their homework. These things are performing well.
Here's a look at our point standings after our first weekend in Benson, North Carolina. 2 hooks down there, and Ricky Long on top. Brandon Simon in the Simon Says hanging in there, 8 points back. Austin Boyd going to commit to the full season this year on the modified tractors, 10 points back. Then Brett Berg, followed by Reese Shelton and Shell Shocked.
Yeah, Ricky Long, the defending champion inside of the category with a very short 2020 season, and Leslie spoke to him earlier.
Well, when I came over here, I called you, Ricky, Mr. Second Place, and you were kind of like, man, I don't know about that.
Well, second's better than anything but first, but we'll take second every night. In a long run of points, that's going to get the job done for sure, but we just like battling every night for the lead, and that's what it's all about.
So how have you been able to maintain this level of consistency? Because last year when you came out of the gate, you guys found it. And, you know, a lot of times it'll drop off at a point here and there.
Well, we shouldn't really talk about that because that is a concern. But lots of moving parts here, and that's the concern is we miss something at home during the shop, and one motor goes down, you're done. And so, you know, as long as we can keep running at the level we're at, we seem to be pretty happy with the combination we got.
You had a good call there, Leslie. Going back to the 3 hooks of last year, a win, and now 4 consecutive second-place finishes. They have been consistent. Well, it looked like he started off on the left side, wanted to let it walk to the right. It did walk to the right, but a little too much. Finally had to get into the brakes, but 341 and 81 will safely take over first place.
Hey, man, we see Brett Berg, who's a tough competitor, you know, 4th so far in the points, putting up that 325. I never dreamed that we'd extend distances out like this. And look at those motors cleaning up in that overhead shot. Just so cool to see that extra fuel finally burned up out there. And he doesn't have to use but a little bit of brake to keep it straight. Now, the problem for our pullers out here, when you get into the end of the track past that 330 mark, that's where the white lines end out there. It's going to be a little bit rougher terrain for them. And so we could end up with some tire damage, but you can bet your bottom dollar they're not going to back out of the throttle. And if they have to eat up a set of tires to win this thing, that's what they're going to do.
Up next will be Austin Boyd and the Green Streak Limited. Of course, anything out of the Boyd camp is always noteworthy. These guys do their homework, to say the least, and will come out here swinging. He did exactly that the first hook of the season as he picked up the win. And courtesy of General Tire, we're going to give you a flashback.
You know, I've really been impressed the way that Austin has been able to kind of jump around and kind of test the waters in different vehicles and then come into this modified class. So much power, you know, so you got to drive it out there and you got to feel it when it's coming on too. To be able to jump into this category and just seem at ease, like he's kind of a veteran out there. And of course, he's got great equipment too, but you've got to be able to drive it if you're going to put up the numbers.
And they'll share driving duties between these tractors, Steve, Greg, and Austin. Austin doing the driving here tonight aboard this one. A show-worthy tractor, and if you thought 341 was a bunch, well, just sit back and watch this. Austin Boyd, 356.01.
Boy, he can't get out of there fast enough. And I love this. The team is always so excited, too. Right there to celebrate Jason Davis, instrumental in getting this team to the track every weekend. The first one to congratulate him. And check out this straight shot. It takes a little bit to get that front end flexing and get some of that transfer back. But once it does, man, there's no stopping him.
Yeah, that's the passion, of course, behind all of the hard work at the shop to come out here and watch the fruits of your labor really deliver, and that's exactly what Austin did. Congratulations to that team. We'll see if it's good enough to hang on, because there's some big hitters yet to come in this category, and talked about it at the top of the class. I mean, this class is arguably as deep as any time we've ever seen it in the history of the sport. I mean, it's just one incredible team after another, and this one certainly does not lay up short with Grayson Shelton behind the wheel. And some 30 feet short, they clearly had some issues with this hook at 323.86.
You know, and I know that team is not going to be satisfied with the data that they're going to see off this run. It looked like the back two engines had some issues. We saw a lot of extra smoke off the starting line from the left bank, and then at the end of the run, both the left and right engines looked like they had some issues. And so maybe down a cylinder on those engines and just not firing the way that they want to get everything nice and clean coming out of those headers.
So they'll hook up to Grayson and pull the Ruckus up out of the way. By the way, did finish up third in the points last year with just 3 hooks. Out next will be Steve Bunnage, and the tractor called Takes a Lickin'. But before we see him, we're going to take a quick break, pay some bills. Stay with us. We'll be back on the other side.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance. Super Clean, not just clean, super clean. And by Rhino Ag, born to lead.
We're having a great time out here in Ambassador Park, Fort Recovery, Ohio. Third hook of the year for the Super Mods at the Rhino Ag Battle at the Fort, presented by Super Clean. Ken Stout and Leslie Mears here calling the action for you. And Steve Bunnage ready to hook up to the sled here and make some noise with the tractor called Takes a Lickin'. And the Spray 9 sponsored machine comes out and goes 324.05, just sneaks past the Ruckus.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he toasted one of those motors early on. You can see about the 200-foot marks, the sparks coming out of the left bank of the engine. And that's one thing about Steve Bunnage. He doesn't take it easy on the equipment out there, and he's going to run hard so he can be competitive just like everybody else. And what's impressive is he still goes 325 with one of those engines not performing at top capacity. And so you know he's got a lot more in it.
So the team tractor and the Boyd camp is coming up here next. Keep in mind the original one that we saw was Lucas Oil Green Streak Limited, won the season opening hook at Benson. This is Lucas Oil Green Streak. It won hook 2 at Benson. Austin was doing the driving back then, and General Tire is going to give us a flashback, but tonight it will be Greg Boyd behind the wheel.
So this is a new facility for the Pro Pulling League for the 2021 season to go down here to Benson. And it's like Austin Boyd never missed a beat out there. Took the win on day 1. Here we see him day 2, making it happen once again with those massive power plants.
And as we told you, all 3 of them will do the driving here throughout the course of the season. Steve being the patriarch of the family. Then it's Greg, who's the father of Austin, and Greg behind the wheel here, as we saw Austin a little bit earlier behind the wheel of the Lucas Oil Green Streak Limited, and is our current leader. Boy, and a good effort out of the green streak here as well. 3:54 and 74 is a solid second place.
I love the patience on the starting line from Greg as you watch that right hand. He probably walks it out of the hole about 50 to 75 feet before he just really gives it all it's got. And that makes a big difference because those 30.5-inch tires have got to get sucked into the track, and you've got to be able to put that power to the ground. If not, you're just going to spin and just pour that dirt underneath the sled and make the sled more difficult to pull. And so his expertise and his years of driving really paid off there.
The team is just so incredibly consistent as we watch the turbine-powered machine back up to the sled. Another tractor that's legal in this category, and Leslie spoke to him earlier.
It was a little bit of a rough pass in Benson, North Carolina for you guys. Derek, talk us through what happened. We don't usually see these things light up like that.
Yeah, they're not supposed to. A lot of people were like, oh, great, look at that fire out of the turbine. Well, you know, we don't do a show like that. You know, Gardner Stone did, but so it got a little hot on Friday night and a little too hot. So on Saturday, basically completed the action and burnt and threw out some blades a little bit. But so we got it fixed. But so it happens. It's the first time in a long time for one of our turbines to do that. So we'll take that, you know. But it was a kind of question mark of what we're going to be able to do. So our turbine shop in Nebraska was quick on the spot, and we got it shipped out there, and they worked on it. And my brother Galen spent 26 hours in the truck, 13 hours one way and coming back, and we got it back together, and it's on there, and we're ready to go.
And just a completely different combination, as you might imagine. And tonight it looks like he'll put 324 and 42 up on the board.
There are thousands of fan blades inside of those engines. And what happened when it got hot in Benson, North Carolina, it actually burnt those fan blades off, and so they had to be completely replaced. And you can see they're still throwing a few sparks there, so still trying to line a few things out. But you're right, Ken, it is a completely different beast as far as that's concerned. One of the nice things about turbines, though, is that they don't require as much maintenance as those automotive reciprocating engines. And so these guys will just check everything through, take them about an hour, and they'll be back ready to go for day 2.
Up next will be the Team Tractor 2 Grayson Shelton. The ruckus that we saw earlier, this is called Shell Shock, with Reese, his brother, behind the wheel. General Tire sponsored machine, and of course both tractors are just absolutely show worthy. And boy, it either seems like you're in the 350-foot mark or you're in the 320-foot mark. 328 and 79, the best of the rest here so far, but a good effort out of Reese, but not up there with our leaders.
I think one important note for the Shelton team is that last year they decided to put spray bars on their injector hats, and that kind of changed all the chemistry down inside of the engine because they're trying to keep everything cool in there. And when you add that extra fuel, you've got to figure out how to burn it up. And so they're basically back to the drawing board. And so they had everything figured out, you know, former champion in the category, and then you throw something like that in it to try to make yourself better, and you got to start at square one.
There's a look at the top 3 as it stands right now. We still have some hitters yet to go in the category. Stay with us. And we're back here at the Rhino Ag Battle at the Fort, presented by Super Clean. Fort Recovery, Ohio, watching the Supermods come out here and put on a show. Another Lucas Oil sponsored machine here. This is Keith Long. We saw Ricky Long a little bit earlier, and he went out, put 341 up on the board. We'll see if they're able to build off of that number. And the sled tugging that thing down right at the very end as it was eating up those front engines, it would appear anyways, and the distance 3:29 and 30.
I wonder if that's the same blower belt issue that has really been plaguing this Lucas Oil Bullseye tractor for about the last year. And so 1 year ago, same issue. There's something that just isn't jiving right on those tractors to where it's eating up those blower belts. And you can see it shredding it on that front left engine. Well, those engines are tied crank to crank over there too. And so there could be some possible damage on the back right engine as well, because those cranks are still turning as it's going. And so this could potentially be an issue here for Keith Long and company going into the second day of competition.
Some stuff for those guys to get worked out as Bill Leischner, the multi-time champ, backing up the dirt slinger here, will hook up to the sled as we talked about this category just getting tougher and tougher by the year.
We talk all the time about how parts are purpose-built for pulling, but that's not the case with rear end. So you put a new one in this year, Bill. So where did it originally come from, and how has it held up for you so far?
Well, we used to run a Rockwell SQHD, and we ran a 583 ratio, and they're getting hard to find. So they had some from China that won't hold up. They'd make one pass, and we used the last good one up, and when we took it out, it was pretty well destroyed. So I had a brand new Meritor that we were going to try, and thought it would work and hold up, but evidently it's sucking too much oil away from the pinion bearing, and so the brand new, nice, state-of-the-art, best there is, didn't make it 300 feet, and then all four engines over rev, and then the pinion shoves forward and breaks the reverser, and probably one of the worst weekends we've ever had in pulling, other than when the axle broke on a new tractor.
Well, then how do you find parts that are going to last when you guys are really putting them through their paces like this?
Well, the SQ100 is a step up, and they have more ratios available. They're 10 years newer than SQHD, so I found a salvage yard and truck parts in Iowa that has several truck stops, and called him, and he had a couple out of some concrete trucks and stuff, and we had to change the ratio a little, and we'll change our gearbox, but hopefully the new ratio will work.
Amazing, and boy, yeah, when something goes wrong, it affects everything else. A costly break back there when that diff broke.
And he didn't even bump the sled day 2 in Benson. I don't think I've ever seen that out of the dirt slinger.
Well, he wasted no time going to full throttle, but unfortunately it will not yield a big distance for him. 3:24 and 28, again, just the bulk of the category here in the 320s. Very, very tight with three tractors well above.
I wonder if maybe Leischner wasn't running these engines just a little bit fat to try to live for a second day of competition, because here's the thing with these super modified tractors, they've got a lot of hooks and it's a long season. And when you're talking about the unavailability of parts, and I mean, in general in the motorsports industry this year, we're finding that parts are really hard to come by. And so with that, you might have to, I don't know, just take a step back and detune to try to live to fight another day and make those points and make those rounds.
Well, that's a great point, Leslie. I mean, I think everybody's experiencing how tough it is to get almost anything, much less some of these specialty parts that are required on these tractors. Here comes the former champ and Wayne Sullivan behind the wheel of the Kentucky. And he's going to fall in right with the mix of the pack as well at 3:25 and 99.
Back left motor had that fuel line come out, spraying fuel early on, but what is so amazing, check out the flex on this wedge chassis and how much it turns and shoves that right tire down into the ground. I mean, just amazing the way that they work out here to pour that power to the ground, and the way they can hold up and still drive straight too.
And great to see another turbine-powered machine in here. This will be Dave Walsh behind the wheel of the Old Blue. The Walsh brothers with a lot of experience out here on the tour. Well, it looked like a lot of ground speed for him, but unfortunately will not deliver the distance at 3:19 and 30.
It was awesome to see the Walsh team get back into the super modified tractor game. It was the 2019 season when they brought out the turbines, and they acquired them from someone else, and they'd been sitting for a really, really long time. And so what happens with anything that you have, electrical lines and lots of different components in, once it sits for a while, you find that some of those things just are fatigued and they don't work. And so they found that, and I think Dan told me this is the year that they're going to really line these things out.
We'll take a quick break. There's your top three, and we'll be right back.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by K&N, filtration for the future. Line X, this is Line X country. And by Lucas Oil, keep that engine alive.
And just one tractor yet to go here inside of the Super Mod category at the Rhino Ag Battle at the Fort, presented by Super Clean. It will be Brandon Simon and the Simon Says. Great to have the entire Simon Says team back on board. They are some tough players and not afraid to compete in a couple of different categories. Boy, nothing jumps out that was incredibly wrong here, but the distance well short of the leaders at 281.03, so I'm sure that gang will go back and do some homework. They are certainly very, very capable of coming out here to win one of these events. Well, let's get it down to the podium. Austin Boyd will stand on top of the box.
Austin, it was a super powerful, long run. We saw those long runs come out there. Were you worried about maybe running out of fuel?
No, we got really lucky. They got a really good track here at Fort Recovery. Was able to utilize our horsepower and really couldn't ask for a better finish. To go 1-2 with Dad, you can't ask for much more than that.
Now, here's the question, though. Are you going to rub this in a little bit, or are you going to just play humble for your dear old dad back there?
No, absolutely. I'm rubbing it in. He told me last week I won both sessions in Benson, and he said, I'm coming to Fort Recovery, and I'm going to put you in your place. But he's still back there in second, so he's a good dad.
Well, there's nothing like a fun family rivalry. Congratulations.
It doesn't get any better. I got to thank this crew. My grandma and grandpa are here. My grandpa Steve and grandma Karen are back home watching live. These guys worked their tails off these last 2 weeks. We had to rebuild 8 motors. Hopefully put enough fuel in them tonight. We can enjoy this one, go to sleep, and do it again tomorrow.
Solid effort out of that Boyd team as expected, and certainly out of the Ricky and Keith Long team as well. Ricky with a solid number there at 341, and I'm sure Keith will go to work on it. Reese Shelton gets an entry inside of the top 5 as well on this stacked, very stacked field. Let's go back down to the podium and hear from Greg Boyd.
Greg, you've been out of the seat for a while, and you stepped back in this weekend and put it in second place, but just couldn't edge past Austin. Were you holding a little something back?
Yeah. I told him beforehand that, this whole thing's to try to win the point series at the end of the year, so Ricky was leading the points, and he went past Ricky, and I said, I need to stop right in between you. So I got on the brakes just enough to do that. That was all purposely done, and I'm just a good teammate.
It doesn't look like your team is believing you back here.
Well, that's my story. I'm going to stick to it, whatever I got to do.
Well, I appreciate that you're standing by it. Regardless, though, a great night for you and your team.
Oh, yeah, we couldn't be any happier. Come up here and finish 1-2. That's pretty awesome. We got an awesome team, great support from Lucas Oil, Mitas Tires, and our crew back here. These guys work their butts off all the time. At home on other people's stuff. They got to keep our own stuff maintained, and mom and dad at home. We got a great, awesome crew.
After back-to-back second-place finishes at Benson for Ricky Long, he's atop the points by 6 markers over the Boyd camp with the Green Streak Limited and Green Streak just 14 markers back. Then Shelton and Berg to round out your top 5. Let's go down and talk to Ricky Long, our points leader.
It's a podium, Ricky, and it's what you need in the points, but it came at a little bit of a cost. What kind of damage did you find after that run?
Well, we hope it's not a lot. We've been shucking blower belts, and when we're running this far, the 340s, 350s light in there, that's about on the outside of our limits. So hopefully nothing. We'll put a blower belt on it and check it out, and I think we'll be fine. And, that's what we got to be. I know we're everybody wants to win. Nobody no worse than us, but consistency is what'll get us to the race.
I know you don't want to run that far, but how good did it feel to run that far and that fast?
Oh, they're awesome runs. When you get that kind of speed, I mean, it's fun. I will say that. I mean, and if we do it tomorrow night, I'm happy with it. I don't care. We enjoy it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Lucas Oil, for everything they do for us, and just all the sponsors. It's a nice event, nice place. Good to be back out with all this sickness and stuff. So we're happy to be here.
Never miss a hook. Go to propulling.com/set reminder to add all of the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League airings to your personal calendar. Receive a calendar reminder minutes before each event airs.
So great to be back out here on the tour. It just feels right. Nice to have the fans back as well. We hope you enjoyed all the great pulling action. For Leslie Mears, I'm Ken Stout. Thanks for watching the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League.